Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Lots going on today and all week. We've had a busy week. Let's jump straight into the headlines. Well, if you haven't heard, you haven't looked outside, Minnesota has some of the worst air quality in the world today. Minneapolis just got bumped to the top spot for the most polluted air in the world, according to IQ Air. Obviously, smoke from the wildfires up north has pushed the city to the top ranking spot globally. There's the map right there. You can see the hazardous air quality alert that's been issued by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Hazardous is that maroon area in northeast Minnesota, including the Twin Cities metro right now. And because of that, MPCA is urging everyone, especially children, older adults, and people with heart or lung conditions, to limit their time outdoors. Grace Henry, my producer for the day. Grace, really interesting because we have the worst air in the world right now. Can you guess who has the best?
I don't know. Let me think. I feel like I know the answer to this because it's you wouldn't just be bringing it up if it was some random city. So I'm going to go with Sydney, Australia.
Sydney, Australia, number one. Number two is Moscow, Russia. So you're going to have to go quite the distance to find some clean air.
Very interesting. Yeah, I saw, I can't pull up my messages right now, but it looks like who the worst ones. I know we've been kind of going back and forth between Minneapolis, Detroit, and Chicago all day.
It goes Minneapolis, Detroit, Chicago, a city in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Toronto is number 5, and then Delhi, India is number 6. Delhi tends to find itself at the top quite often, as they have quite a few publicly known pollution problems there. So,
yeah. Well, if you want to get some clean air, like I said, head to Sydney. Where
just hop on a 20-hour flight.
It's easy. It's easy.
Simple.
Our producer Paul, he's back, and he'll be switching the show later. And it's a. Yeah, he probably is wishing he hadn't moved away at this moment. But,
that's right. In other wildfire news, the smoke has forced organizers to cancel all kinds of outdoor concerts and festivals, camps and community events, while others are moving those events inside. Valley Fair, the USA Youth Soccer Tournament, and Minneapolis Parks and Recs Department are among those that have canceled events altogether today. The Minnehaha Art Fair preemptively canceled for tomorrow, and that list only continues to grow. We continue to get emails into our newsroom of events that are canceling. So make sure you check with the organizer before you head out to any events or children's programming that you have planned for the rest of the week. And in other news, Minnesota's Major League Soccer team is getting a new leader. After 5 years with the Minnesota United, CEO Sherry Ballard is retiring, handing the job to former Target executive Christina Hennington. And Ballard helped lead the Loons to record business growth in last year's Western Conference final, while Hennington officially takes over with the MLS club, looking to build on that momentum. Interestingly, both of these ladies came from the retail world. Ballard was from Best Buy previously, and Hennington comes from Target. And President Trump will deliver a rare primetime address tonight focused on what the White House calls election security. The speech is expected to revisit the 2020 election and include proposals related to voting rules ahead of this fall's midterms. Critics, however, have raised concerns that the address could repeat claims about the 2020 election that have been widely rejected by courts, election officials, and independent reviews. Of course, we also continue to follow the wildfires up north that continue to burn. So far, those fires up in northern Minnesota have burned more than 60,000 acres. There's 15 active wildfires. And yesterday, fire officials said that they believe they'll be fighting those fires well into the fall, even maybe until the snow lands. So there's a live map of the active fires that are burning up near the Canadian border. You can also see there the evacuation zones. So they go with a system called Ready, Set, Go. Ready and set are basically be prepared to leave. Go is now in place for thousands of people, so thousands have been evacuated just north of Ely, Minnesota. As the Minnesota Incident Command Team said that it saw significant fire growth over the wilderness on Tuesday, and the same happened on Wednesday, yesterday being described as a dynamic fire day. Fire officials were expecting a temporary pause today, so a little bit of respite as winds died down and that haze covered up the sun, bringing the temperatures down. But they say that it's far from over, and they even expect those fires to pick up again. So lots going on with those fires. And not to mention, we also have an extreme heat warning that remains in effect for the metro area here until 9 p.m. on Friday, as highs stay in the 90s. Well, speaking of weather, our meteorologist, Erica Mrazek, I was told she was ready, but she might not be ready. But the air quality is a big part of the heat and the wildfire smoke. I am hearing that Erica is ready now. So, Erica,
been ready.
You're being called on. Sometimes they tell me that you're ready and then you're not, and I'm so sorry about that.
Okay.
But the biggest story today is the air quality.
Yes, it is. So across the area, as most people have already probably noticed, it is very smoky outside. Air quality alerts out for almost the entire state, except for the southwest corner. And along with that, it's also hot. So as you were saying, Courtney, there is still that extreme heat warning for the metro, where temperatures could feel like perhaps the upper 90s and even warmer than that for some with the heat and humidity. But everywhere else, though, because of the haze, that has limited the amount of energy you get from the sun. So with temperatures there not quite reaching what you need with the combo of the temperatures dew points to be in a heat advisory. So that has been canceled elsewhere across the region. However, I expect the smoke to start to retreat tomorrow. So as a southwesterly wind moves in, starts to push the smoke out, temperatures are going to increase again towards Friday. So there is a chance for perhaps a few heat advisories tomorrow, but just kind of have to wait and see the timing of the smoke moving out and how much temperatures can warm into Friday. At the moment, though, most of the smoke kind of along 94, sinking south just a little bit. So reports of haze from Fergus Falls through the metro, even to Rochester, La Crosse, and beyond for some even. Now into the rest of today, this system, the smoke is going to try to meander its way just a little bit north and east, but there's going to be better luck with that tomorrow as it heads back towards northeast Minnesota. But then you'll notice there's a little patch of yellow in the northwestern part of the state. There's going to be another front moving through, kind of collects some of the smoke from the north and brings it back as it pushes through from northwest to southeast on Friday. So overall, there could just be a little bit of haze still lingering throughout parts of the end of the week, but it looks to clear out for most as you head into the day tomorrow. So that means some improving air quality towards the end of the week. But for today, air quality is still very poor for a lot of people. That's hazardous to very unhealthy, all the way from the Arrowhead even past the metro into places like Alexandria, Hutchinson, and Owatonna. Now, this region, central northern Minnesota, going to fluctuate between hazardous, very unhealthy throughout the day, just depending on how the wind's blowing. And there also is a little bit of some moisture, rain up around the border. So that's why areas around International Falls are in this good category now, because the rain helps to alleviate some of that smoke. And then it's also looking better southwest of the Minnesota River Valley. So moderate air quality there, where the smoke has not reached as far and infiltrated the area as much. So that's overall what's going on. The conditions are the worst perhaps today, most likely, and then improve as you get to the end of the week. And then it's hot. Temperature is 90 currently in the metro. So the sixth day in a row with the high reaching the 90s here in the Twin Cities. Temperatures 80s elsewhere, as well as some 70s and some 60s up towards the north, where there's more of that smokiness. So limiting the amount of heating throughout your afternoon. Does feel a touch warmer, though, because those dew points are up there. So it feels like 95 currently in the Twin Cities metro, even 96 for New Ulm and for Rochester, Winona too. Even feeling like almost the triple digits in La Crosse there, with temperatures feeling like the 70s and 80s, even some 60s up north and towards Grand Marais. So outside, you could barely see past a couple buildings here in Minneapolis as that haze just continues to cover the sky. Air quality alert goes through tomorrow, and then also extreme heat warning is still in place for the metro, also through tomorrow. And then by the weekend, it looks like the haze is going to start to lift to get better tomorrow into Saturday, Sunday. So still a little bit of a haziness possible for some, really not as bad as today. And temperatures are still going to be warm. They'll be in the low 90s likely for the weekend. And then, Courtney, they're eventually going to get to the 80s by Tuesday, Wednesday timeframe of next week. So the temperatures eventually are going to return towards normal, it looks like at the moment, but still about 5 days away.
Okay, good to hear. We're going to have a reprieve from the smoke and the heat, at least here in the metro. Obviously, we know our neighbors up north aren't getting as lucky with a break.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Erica. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And speaking of those wildfires, they continue to burn. 60,000 acres have burned so far as 15 active wildfires take over northern Minnesota and the Canadian border. Our very own So-Young Kim is in Ely. She's been in Ely the last couple of days. So-Young, how are things today? Have things improved? Have they degraded? What are you seeing?
Hey, Courtney. The smoke and the air quality that we saw in Ely, I feel like it looks worse today. Yesterday, obviously, it was hazy. Thick smoke was blanketing the sky, and I could smell the smoke a little bit yesterday in town. But today, if the air feels heavier, the smell of the smoke is stronger. And another piece of context, we're staying in Hibbing, which is a little over an hour south of where we are, kind of in and around the Ely area. Yesterday, there was a very noticeable difference between the air quality in Hibbing, which was much better. You could faintly smell a little bit of smoke, but no thick blanket of smoke in the sky in the Hibbing area yesterday, as we saw in Ely. Today, this morning in Hibbing, very similar to the air quality here. We're back up in Lake County. We're about 5 miles north of Ely. Visibility remains very low. It can't really tell what time of day it is because it's just a little bit dark all day. So not much change in terms of a material change, but I could tell you from our experience here, the air does feel heavier. The smoke definitely, the smell is stronger, and air quality is a little bit worse. Officially, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, obviously in this area where we're closer to the fires, the air quality level right now is hazardous for all. So we're trying to stay inside, at least stay inside the car, and trying to limit the time we absolutely have to be outside when obviously we're gathering news or new video of the area.
Yeah, and we want you to stay safe. So we appreciate you joining us, even if it's from inside in the air conditioning. I'm sorry if you heard me cough. It's because, we're seeing the smoke down here as well. But I do want to get an update on where the wildfire stands. So it sounds like there hasn't been an expansion of evacuations. Is that right?
Yeah, so kind of the two counties we were looking at with actual evacuation orders, so that go level of the 3 ready, set, go is kind of what the county officials are operating on. That's the status for evacuation orders. Both Lake County and St. Louis counties, similar areas are still under go. So those are evacuation orders. Cook County, like we mentioned yesterday, they have an evacuation status, but no go orders at this time. So no changes there. Again, county officials say this is obviously a very dynamic situation. They want everyone to remain alert to any official county communications because those are changing and shifting constantly. Another thing that's changing is the Boundary Waters Canoe area. We know that progression of closures started several days ago with an entire full closure on Tuesday. That on Tuesday, the announcement was that it would be closed through Friday. Now that's been extended through Sunday. Again, permits are being refunded. That evacuation effort in the boundary waters. As you can only imagine, the firefight is complex because of how remote it is, but a lot of the campers in there, reaching them is also complex and a very manual effort because these are very, very remote areas of the wilderness that rangers are trying to reach. Later tonight, we'll have a story. We spoke with an outfitter who was helping some of those efforts of bringing people out to safety so that rangers kind of locate campers or through word of mouth if they hear someone is in a location, or they could, when they're able to fly their beaver and see campers, their water patrol rangers locate them, and then some of these private and local businesses are again taking out towboats and helping to bring them in. So we're hearing more about that effort later tonight as well.
So yesterday when I listened to the press conference, it sounded like they thought they were going to get a temporary pause. It seems like today we're kind of in that temporary pause where, you know, temperatures have come down a bit, wind has died down a bit, but they seem to think that the pause is not going to last. Have you heard any update on that?
Yeah, so several minutes ago, the latest official update from Incident Command, they still consider this a very active firefight. Like you mentioned, a bit of cooler temperatures maybe have slowed the growth, doesn't mean it stopped the growth. The new numbers that you mentioned of the 15 current wildfires with 3 in the boundary waters, that doesn't mean from the 17 we were reporting several days ago that 2 fires are out. They've been merging, and the classification is very dynamic and changes. So the growth overnight, because of the slightly cooler temperatures, and this is what officials are saying, the growth moderated a bit, doesn't mean it didn't grow. And they are expecting some precipitation is what they're saying in the latest forecast, which could be good news, but still a very active and dynamic firefight today is the latest we just heard minutes ago.
Well, at least maybe they're getting a little bit of a break as this fire continues to burn, but obviously those dry conditions are not helping. So-Young Kim, I so appreciate you joining us. Thanks for all your hard work out there.
Thank you, Courtney.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more after this. Thanks for joining us here on All Day Live. I'm Courtney Godfrey. We continue to follow the air quality alert that's in place across Minnesota. Really, northeastern Minnesota is the most at risk. That's the area that has hazardous air quality right now, according to the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Minneapolis right now ranking the worst air quality in the world, according to IQ Air. That is next to Detroit and Chicago. So Detroit and Chicago also top 3 for worst air in the world right now. And that is all because of these wildfires that are burning in northern Minnesota and on the Canadian border. Here's a live look outside to downtown Minneapolis. You can see the haze that is blanketed the Twin Cities. You can see the U.S. Bank Stadium where the Minnesota Vikings play. And then beyond that, it's pretty hard to see the rest of the skyline. So very hazy out there. Our meteorologists tell us that wind patterns will change and we should start to get some relief from that smoke and haze tomorrow. So that's a good news. But the heat is going to stick around until the end of this weekend. So you can expect that heat to stick around, but get a respite from the bad air quality and the haze. Like I said, that heat is still in effect. There's still a heat advisory for the whole Twin Cities metro until 9 p.m. on Friday night. And those wildfires have burned more than 60,000 acres. There's about 15 active wildfires right now in northern Minnesota and on the Canadian border, and thousands have been evacuated. All right. I'm hearing that the MPCA is on the line now. So as we talk about this horrible air quality, Minneapolis, the top for the worst air in the world right now, we bring in Matt Terraldson. He's the supervisory meteorologist, basically the lead smoke forecaster for the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so what's happening right now in Minnesota where we're seeing much of the state in this hazardous zone?
Yeah, well, we have obviously the fires in northern Minnesota and southern Canada that have been burning. Here in Minnesota, there's been a stationary front that has basically dragged that smoke from the wildfires down south through northern Minnesota, through central Minnesota, and kind of stalled out just south of the Twin Cities. So far southwestern Minnesota is actually in green, good air quality right now, but it is hazardous maroon in the Twin Cities northward. And that front is going to gradually work its way from the south to the north, but it will take time and it will gradually clear the smoke out, at least through the central part of the state with it.
And what does this mean for everyone out there?
Yeah, well, so the AQI, the air quality index, starts at green or good. And that basically means there's no air quality impacts, and it ends at the top with maroon or hazardous. We've been in maroon or hazardous in the Twin Cities since last night, but in northern Minnesota, basically for the majority of the day yesterday and all day today so far. At that level, at that maroon or hazardous level, everyone will be impacted. It is not just sensitive groups that will be impacted. It is everyone in the population. Anyone who's outside for any length of time will eventually start having impacts from this. So just want to reiterate that, we hear a lot about air quality alerts and it's in that orange or unhealthy for sensitive groups. This is not that. The concentrations are such that this will impact a large segment of the population and everyone eventually will be impacted if they're outside long enough.
How does this compare to previous wildfires? I think of last year with the Canadian wildfires, we did see some haze and smoke down here, but have we ever seen anything this bad in Minnesota?
No. We topped out at the purple or very unhealthy category last year at the height of the worst smoke intrusion in the Twin Cities. And so we are almost double that concentration. And overnight, we set an hourly record at several stations in the Twin Cities, and then we set a state hourly record in Ely last night. So this truly is a historic type of situation. We've only forecasted one maroon air quality alert, and that was for northwestern Minnesota last year. This is the first time we've seen that, not just in northwestern Minnesota, but all the way through the majority of the state.
Wow. Can you explain to me, when I'm looking at the air quality map, how is it that I see maroon all over northern Minnesota and eastern Minnesota, and then there's this pocket of green not far from Ely, up in International Falls? How does International Falls get this pocket of great air when everything below it is hazardous?
Yeah, so there are different types of air quality monitors that are out there. And so we have monitors across the state that measure both ozone and fine particle pollution, but not every monitor measures both. And so in areas where you have just one pollutant that's measured, it might be good while the other one is really bad. Wildfire smoke is tricky because especially in the density we've been seeing today and yesterday, it's thick enough to actually block out the incarnate solar radiation. And so ozone depends on that solar radiation to form. So when there's enough of smoke, it actually stops the ozone formation. And then when we have monitors that only measure ozone, they'll be green or good, even though the air quality is not green or good. And so it's kind of a misnomer on the map. We didn't want to censor out any data, so that's still on the map. But the color codes that go between all the different stations, the color filled, that will be the worst of any of the pollutants that we expect. And our forecasts always reflect the highest concentration of any pollutants that we're forecasting for.
Okay, I just thought that was a little funny to see International Falls, a little pocket in the middle of that maroon.
Yep, yeah, and in our part of the world, the interpolation that's done by EPA is called the EPA Nowcast. It only uses U.S. stations, and so when we get to the boundaries of the nation in northern Minnesota, you can sometimes get little donuts that show up and everything as it's just a byproduct of the way that the spatial algorithm works.
Okay, interesting. Is there any amount of time that is safe to be outside? I'm thinking about going to the store and getting out of my car, for the few minutes to walk inside, things like that. Or are you saying just stay home completely?
If you can, that'd be great. But I realize that's not an option for some people. If you do have to be out for any length of time, you can wear either a KN95 or an N95 mask. That will do a pretty good job of restricting the particles you breathe in. I always, tell people that this is like akin to think of really bad wind chill. So when it's like negative 50 degrees outside, you can be outside for a little bit, but the longer you're out there, the more risk you'll have for frostbite or hypothermia. And the air quality is very much the same way. There's going to be some people that are impacted right away, have rapid onset asthma. There'll be other people that can be outside for a little bit longer and have no issues. And so it's very personalized. You can go outside. Some people might even be fine being outside, but eventually the longer you're outside, the more concentration of pollutants you'll breathe in, and eventually you'll start to have those impacts. It's just very dependent on the individual person on how fast that time happens.
So obviously you mentioned the short-term impacts like asthma, trouble breathing. Are there any long-term impacts that we may not feel or see right now?
We believe so, but the literature out there is actually still very much kind of to be decided. And so this is still a relatively new phenomenon, especially in this part of the world. So a lot of the literature that we've looked at in the MDH, the Department of Health, our kind of our sister agency that does a lot of the public health research, has been in Western United States. So it's not really the same population, not really the same type of exposure windows. And so we do believe that there are some long-term health impacts. Lots of that is still kind of to be decided, and the signal is still not great. And so I defer to them about that. But yes, we do believe that there's, health impacts that can be long lasting over repeated exposures, but not likely from just a single exposure.
This was a discussion among my office mates today, but are you completely safe inside in the air conditioning, or will some of those smoke particles still get through the air conditioning system and inside?
Yeah, they will definitely get inside slowly but surely. So our houses are not airtight. I mean, we can breathe inside our houses just fine. So eventually the outdoor pollution will make its way indoors. It'll take time. But on the caveat, on the other side, when this smoke clears here in the metro tomorrow afternoon, you're going to probably have more pollution inside your house than you are outside. So it's a good opportunity to open your windows, recycle the air. Once the air outside is cleaned, go for that. Do that. It's important. But yeah, it is better to be indoors. It will take time for the pollution indoors to kind of creep up. But the longer this type of really hazardous air quality lasts, the longer indoor air quality will start to degrade, and the worse it will get indoors as well.
When we look at places like Ely, so Ely is measuring indexes that are about 8 times the maximum safe index. Long term, are you concerned about people who are still, living and working in those communities?
Yes. Like I said, we still don't have a good idea of what the science behind what these exposures windows are. A lot of the research that we have is limited to out in California, or we're looking at large populations like firefighters that are exposed to this type of smoke load frequently. And so it's not really apples to oranges. And so in those populations, we have seen, at least some of the literature, there is a signal for that. And so that's why we really stress that you should wear a mask if you can, if you're outdoors for any length of time. It has to be well-fitting, has to be KN95 or N95. And that will do a good job of kind of pushing down the amount of particles you breathe. It won't completely eliminate them, but it will mitigate much of your health risk.
Well, that brings something up that I wanted to ask you about. I was thinking about these firefighters and how we're all being told to stay inside, but the firefighters are out there breathing in way worse smoke than we're around. And then I did reach out, I reached out to the Minnesota Department of Transportation, and their workers are still out doing road work. There are people who are outside. What are your concerns with those individuals who are still having to work outside today?
Yeah, I feel for them. It's easy for me to say that, I'll just stay indoors because my job allows me to do that, but many people that's not an option. And so that's why, I say that if you can wear a mask, great. I also realize, it is in the upper 90s outside, and it smells gross. And the last thing you probably want to do in these type of temperatures is wear a mask. And so it's one of those things where if you do have to be outdoors, if you can't mask up, you can take frequent breaks. You can go inside where it's cool and where the air hopefully is cleaner. And that can even be a vehicle which will have better air than just the ambient outside air today. But, taking frequent breaks, that's important. That's things you can do to kind of mitigate your risk. But really the mask is the best option. But I understand and totally get that, on days like today, you don't want to be outside for a long period of time wearing a mask. It's not going to be fun.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. We see all these events being canceled, and yet, work has to continue in a lot of places. Is it worth buying an air filtration system? I see these ozone units, but even just a regular air filter that you can buy at a big box retailer, are they worth it?
Yeah, they actually work. So there's called the Corsi Rent-A-Sol box. It's basically, take a box fan and you duct tape on a furnace filter to the front of it. And it seems like it would be absurd that this would work, but it actually, there has been research that has shown this has significantly improved indoor air quality, something as simple as that, and relatively inexpensive. It doesn't have to be a fancy filter. So you can rig that up yourself. That does help clean out the indoor air quality. It cycles through. I would also caution on the flip side of that is that those ozone formation cleaners that do not have a HEPA filter, they make ozone. They're advertised as killing viruses and bacteria, but they do that by producing ozone, and it actually makes the indoor air quality worse. So on days like today where it's already bad out and it's, your indoor air quality is slowly getting worse, it can actually make things a little bit worse. So HEPA filters are great. If you can get a MERV, MERV 13 filter or better and put that on a box fan, that's really great. Or a MERV 13 or better filter in your furnace, if your furnace can accommodate that. Those are all kind of the gold standards of things to do.
Okay, good. So I don't need to go out and buy any new appliances. I can just use the regular old box fan that I've got in the basement and an air filter. That's good to hear. Well, I so appreciate you joining us. All this information is so interesting. Matt Terrellson from the MPCA, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, like I said, the air quality in Minneapolis is the worst in the world right now. Absolutely incredible. Behind that is Detroit and Chicago, who are also seeing the smoke and haze from these wildfires. We've been asking our viewers to send in photos all day. If you want to send in photos of the haze, the email is allday@fox.com. I believe we have some of those photos that you've sent in pulled up. So this is from Games Lake. Greg sent this in. You can see the haze over the lake. Not too bad. I don't know where Games Lake is located. This looks like maybe it's because I'm still seeing a little bit of blue skies poking through. And I don't see any blue skies in the Twin Cities metro right now, so I'm interested to know where Games Lake is. Let's see another one. Oh, that looks like St. Paul right there. Yep, that looks familiar to us here. That orange halo around the sun that forms when that haze takes over. My kids found this really cool last night when the sun was setting. Thank you to John for sending that in from St. Paul. And this is from Kate. Oh, we're cycling through. This is from Cottage Grove. Doreen in Cottage Grove sent us this. She too is getting a little bit of blue sky poking out. So I guess unless this was taken last night, which is quite possible, you're getting a little bit of blue sky poking through. At least here in Eden Prairie, we're not seeing any blue sky. It's all gray haze. Any others? No? Okay, that's it. You can send more in to allday@fox.com. We'd love to see your photos of the haze. We're all living it. We're all seeing it now. On my commute in, I saw a fishing boat out on Lake Minnetonka. I couldn't believe it. You could barely see the land around it, but there he was fishing. Not advised. Not advised.
I just wanted to also say that bug on the left-hand side of your screen, if you scan it, it'll direct you to download the Fox Local app, where you can get updated on air quality alerts and stay up to date on all the latest news. We'll try to bring you the latest news, of course, but for detailed air quality alerts and all of that, download the Fox Local app. The QR code is on the left side of your screen.
Yeah, for when you're not able to tune in and catch us, you can download that Fox Local app. That's a great way to easily down it. Just scan that QR code. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. The city of Ely has been greatly impacted by the wildfires burning in northern Minnesota and along the Canadian border. Thousands have now been evacuated, and the city is experiencing record bad air quality. Because of that, a lot of neighbors are banding together. Tara Burst owns Carbonation Ely, and she's opened her doors for anyone who just doesn't want to sit alone. Tara, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Why'd you decide to open up your doors to anyone?
Well, our community just needs a place that they can gather, that they don't feel they have to buy anything. They can just be together with other people and to get out of the smoke. A lot of people don't have air conditioning, and their pets and themselves, and we just need a place for people to go that they feel comfortable.
So great that you're offering that. And you make a good point. A lot of people in northern Minnesota don't need air conditioning usually. And all of a sudden you've been hit with 100-degree weather. So not only is it the smoke, but when you don't have air conditioning, you can't filter out the smoke and get a break. So having a place with air conditioning is key. You're not charging anyone. You're just letting anyone come, sit, work, hang out. You're even saying they can bring their dogs.
Yes. Eventually, we will become a soda shop. Currently, we are not there yet, but we have a preschool area for kids to play in. We have crafts in the afternoon. We have a mini arcade in the back, and we were just handing out quarters yesterday. Just come in and have some fun and be with other people.
So it sounds like people have taken you up on this. I mean, how many people? How many people have come through your door, and what are the stories that you're hearing?
Well, right now you can't hear it, but there are about 4 or 5 young boys playing video games downstairs with their dads, and there's only 5 arcade machines. And they're coming in and they are walking as quickly as they can from their cars, sometimes wearing a mask, and just appreciating when they come in that they can grab a bottle of water and then just spend some time.
Have you talked to people who have been evacuated? Do you know anyone who's been evacuated, and what does their life look like right now?
I don't know anyone who's been evacuated yet.
Even for those who haven't been evacuated in Ely, how is this impacting your well-being and just the way the community generally operates? I have to imagine it's a little weird around there right now.
Yeah, yesterday I feel we were more in a panic because we didn't know people that we'd been hearing about people being evacuated, and lots of people know people who live up the Echo Trail or down the Fernberg. And all of the traffic yesterday was going out of town. So Sheridan Street was busy, but just traffic leaving. And today I feel like people are feeling a little bit calmer. I feel, even if the fires are larger, I think we, as a group, feel we have more information, and therefore we know Ely's not being evacuated, not right now. And we've seen all the firefighters come through, and we know that they're working really hard to keep us safe. And we're getting regular updates from the Watch Duty app and from the Forest Service. And so I think that knowledge has really helped us all just kind of take a step back. There are people who still have cabins and they still have their grandchildren here. And so we've had them come in and do some crafting, or we've had some like 11 and 12-year-old boys just being sent over while the moms and dads are going shopping down the street. So that feels pretty good.
You said in your social media posts, you talked about the neighbors and your friends, but you also said that, we recognize that friends and loved ones are out there fighting the fires. Talk to me about that.
Yep. One of our close friends is one of the firefighters who, one of the rangers who went out to finish clearing the boundary waters and tell campers that it's time to go. And we were all pretty stressed out yesterday when he was out. He was in the really smoky, dangerous area, but he came back into town around noon, got to spend some time with his family, and now he's clearing an area that's a lot safer. The fire isn't there, but there's still campers that not everybody brings a radio when you go out to the boundary waters.
Yeah.
So they don't really necessarily know if they're supposed to evacuate.
It sounds like today came with a little bit of relief for your community.
And to wake up yesterday and have ash falling on your porch as if it was snow was really, really kind of frightening. Yeah. But somehow the smoke is still here. It's hard to be outside, but I feel like we've all kind of banded together and we feel like we have some solutions. And so we are feeling just a lot better today.
What do you want people in your community to know if they, do need a place to go or they just don't want to stay at home?
Yeah, just come here. We have a place across the street as well. Our theater has open space. Any of the coffee shops, just come out and be with other people. So then you can feel like you're living a little bit more of a normal life. The smoke will be here for a while.
Yeah. And how long will you not be charging people to come in and play the arcade games and just hang out?
Okay, well, maybe we'll start charging tomorrow. We'll start charging tomorrow. But water, we have Gatorade, we have snacks, we have all those things just on the counter. There's a group in town that's going around and making sure everybody has what they need to stay hydrated. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's still a business. You still got to pay rent at the end of the month. But
I know, but this is unprecedented, really. Yeah.
Truly.
We have to do what we can and band together.
I've been continually impressed with the way that your community is responding to this. It seems like every business has opened its doors and every neighbor has welcomed, strangers in. So it's incredible. It shows the strength of Ely. Terror Burst with Carbonation Ely, I so appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to continue to cover the wildfires, the air quality alerts, and the heat. But we got to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 all day. We continue to follow the wildfires that are burning in northern Minnesota. Let's pull up the map right now. Over 60,000 acres have burned in southern Canada and northern Minnesota so far. There are over a dozen active wildfires and thousands have been evacuated. So yesterday, Minnesota Incident Command told us that they saw a significant fire growth on Tuesday and that the same thing happened yesterday. Today, they were expecting a bit of a pause because temperatures dropped a bit and the winds died down. But they say ongoing heat and dry conditions are making it difficult to fight these blazes, and poor air quality due to the smoke is also reducing visibility for their aircraft who are trying to get out there and dump water on these fires. They also have aircraft in the air at times to try and find campers who might still be out in the Boundary Waters. Obviously, the Boundary Waters closed on Tuesday, so all campers had to get out. This all started the evening of July 6th when storms came through. These storms had very little rain, but a whole lot of lightning, about 1,000 lightning strikes, followed immediately by high temperatures, much higher than they usually see up there. We're talking 100 degrees in Ely, when this time of year it's usually in the 70s. So very high temperatures for that region, dry and windy conditions, and it just created a huge opportunity for these wildfires to ignite and grow. They do believe that they are going to be fighting these fires into the fall. Some of them are going to burn, they say, until the snow starts to fall. So there's an up-close look at the evacuation zones. The areas that have been evacuated so far are the Echo Trail and the Fernbridge Corridor. Those have been evacuated, so those thousands of people have been evacuated out of there. Right now in Cook County, in a different part of the Arrowhead region, the end of the Gunflint Trail is right now in set status. and that's due to the Little Knife Fire. So the fire that caused the evacuations in Ely was the Camp Fire. The Little Knife Fire is now threatening homes at the end of the Gunflint Trail west of Hungry Jack Lake Road. So lots to follow there. We'll continue to follow that. But with that smoke has come horrible air quality. Minneapolis right now is ranked the worst air quality in the world. And that is according to IQ Air. Right behind Minneapolis, there's a shot of downtown Minneapolis right there. You can see the haze that is blanketing the Twin Cities. Right behind Minneapolis, top two behind Minneapolis, Detroit and Chicago, also covered in haze due to these same wildfires. We do want you guys to send us pictures of the haze that you're experiencing. We will take these photos at allday@fox.com. So it's right there on your screen. You can email allday@fox.com. This one came from Wayland in Duluth. You can see the lift bridge barely through the haze. It looks like Wayland was the passenger in a car driving down maybe 35. When he took that shot. And then this must be downtown Duluth, a shot over downtown Duluth. I spent some time in Duluth. I recognize it. But you can see the haze covering the city there as well. Their air quality really started to degrade yesterday and only got worse today. They are only a few hours from Ely, so they are feeling the impacts of these wildfires, and we do want you to send those photos to allday@fox.com. Grace Henry, we also have a QR code that people can scan there.
So on the left hand of your screen, right there. If you scan that, that'll direct you to the Fox Local app, where you can stay updated on the air quality alert, on the wildfires up north. It'll direct you there, but you can also stream our show. If you want to watch our show in the app, go ahead, you can download it there. But I also wanted to pull up the air quality map because it's pretty crazy to look at.
Yeah, so the entire northeastern part of the state essentially is in this hazardous range. You can see the maroon is hazardous, and that's us in the Twin Cities. We are hazardous right now. And that's going to continue through tonight. Our meteorologists tell us that we should be getting a reprieve tomorrow. The winds are set to shift, and we will get a reprieve. But for today, they are urging everyone to stay inside if you can. I don't know if you heard the MPCA talk about this, but you don't have to go out and buy a fancy air filter. If this air is impacting you or you live with maybe you have small children at home or a senior or someone with cardiac issues, asthma, you don't have to go out and buy a fancy air filter. You can just put a MERV 13 air filter on a box fan, and they say that studies have shown it cleans the air pretty good.
That is so good to know, because I was even today on Amazon looking for an air purifier. It's hard to know which ones are good versus bad, but some of them are very, very expensive.
Yeah, that's my thing. I'm not going to buy, I know it's bad right now, but this happens, once a year.
Exactly.
I don't want to spend $500 on an air purifier. So he said, no, you don't need it. You can just do the box fan with the filter over, and he said it really works. Of course, if you have people with health conditions in your home, you might want something a little more heavy duty, but.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting how he said that the poor air quality will eventually get into your home. So once the air quality outside gets to be better, obviously we're not at that point quite yet, but hopefully the next few days when the air quality gets better, to air out your home.
Yeah, he said open up the windows.
I had no idea. I never would have thought that. I would have thought, you want to kind of seal everything up and preserve that air in your home, but
nope. He said the smoke particles are going to get into your home. And once it clears and you see blue skies again, to open up your windows and just let that house breathe.
Yeah, and I did want to mention, they've been saying it. Hopefully, the air quality will be better tomorrow. I'm supposed to be heading to the Yacht Club Festival, and I did email them. I did email them earlier today just for an update if they had any inclination if they were going to cancel, because I know the Minnehaha Art Fair, they canceled preemptively for tomorrow. But one of the Yacht Club festival organizers sent me an email saying that the health and safety of our patrons, artists, and staff remains our top priority. We are working closely with public safety and our city partners to continue to monitor conditions. And fortunately, the forecast shows improvement by tomorrow. At this point, we plan to proceed with the festival this weekend. So, I mean, who knows?
You took the day off, Grace, so you're going. If it's on, you're going, right?
I sure did. Yes. Yep.
Will you do a live hit for us from the music festival?
I have already told you guys I am counting. I will definitely Zoom you guys from the festival if it's happening. I'll probably have a mask on, but yeah, I'll be there. If it happens, I will be there.
Well, I don't want you to miss, Grace, but I also want you to stay safe. So whatever is best for you. But like I said, Minneapolis, worst air quality in the world right now, according to IQ Air. And so, of course, we have to send a reporter out into it. And today, Corin Hoggard drew the short straw. Corin, I hope you're staying safe out there. How are things outside right now?
Yeah. Of course, I can't hear you now, but I heard you right just a second ago, but lost you. Yeah, it's pretty bad out here. I actually thought for a second things were starting to clear up. I can almost make out the sun here in Minneapolis right now. I don't know if you can see it there. There's maybe a little bit of blue in the sky right now, but I did just check, and those ratings are still well up there in the 300s and just really bad. I don't know if there's some lag in the readings on air quality, but it does kind of look a little bit better right now than it has most of the day as we've traveled all over the metro. I will say, we're kind of talking to folks about canceled activities. So a lot of the sports activities have been canceled. We went out to Lake Bede-Makaska and we saw, there was supposed to be a youth sailing club out there. They canceled that. There were a few people out there exercising, but just a couple, many fewer than you usually see out there. The Target USA Cup soccer tournament up in Blaine canceled, just about everything. Creed, I know you guys were just talking about the Yacht Club Festival. Well, Creed was supposed to be at the Mystic Lake Amphitheater in Shakopee tonight. They actually have a song called One Last Breath, and I thought that might end up being prophetic today, but they're pushing that concert to another day as well.
Okay, Corin, can you hear me now, or are you still not able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. You can hear me.
No, now I hear you.
So I am curious, we saw, like you mentioned, all these events canceled, Valley Fair closed. You are, though, seeing people who are not heeding the warning, people who are going outside in it.
Yeah, not that many. I will have to say, the foot traffic just about everywhere we've been has been very minimal. I'm pretty much the only guy walking on the streets here in Northeast Minneapolis right now. We have seen a few people out biking, out running, doing strenuous physical activity. And that is, from the doctor we talked to as well, a pulmonary specialist. It's a really bad idea on a day like today. Even a healthy person could end up in the hospital because they're doing strenuous activity in air quality this bad. Now, I got to say, how bad it is, it's not exactly linear when we see that, the readings right now are in the high 300s. That's more than twice as bad or twice as high as it was on the worst days last summer. But it's not twice as bad for your health, according to the doctor. It's not exactly linear, but it is worse. The higher it gets, the worse it gets. And this is really bad.
So did the pulmonologist tell you if you stay inside, you're perfectly safe? Or does he say there's still a risk, even if you go outside to get your mail and come right back inside?
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty minimal, but, it depends on your house and how, sealed it is, and how much air is getting in there. I know, my wife last night started running an air purifier, even though we don't really, I don't think, have any leaks in the house. We don't get cold in the winter as long as we close the doors. But yeah, having that air purifier definitely is a good idea for folks. And the doctor said, if you're in your house, if you're just doing minor activities outside, a lot of people could go for, a simple stroll and just be fine. Like my dog doesn't like to go to the bathroom in our yard, so we have to walk him a little ways. He said that's probably just going to be fine unless I'm somebody with asthma or any other kind of lung problem, COPD, something like that. But when you're getting into the strenuous activity like running, biking, doing anything else, we've seen people working construction today. Those guys probably don't have a choice except to be out there or else not get paid. Those guys are going to have a rough day, and they're going to end up with some of the symptoms that he told us about, like headaches, cough, itchy eyes, those types of things, and maybe even worse. They did say that their emergency room visits are much higher today than they usually are.
Wow, interesting. And I was curious, so we did reach out to MnDOT to see if they were still having their road crews out there, and they said they're out there. You know, we're providing hydration and masks, but they are out there. I was a little shocked by that. Have you talked to any events that have yet to cancel, and what is their reason for not yet canceling?
I haven't talked to anybody who hasn't canceled at this point, so I don't know what anybody's reason would be for not canceling, but yeah, we haven't talked to anyone who has decided that they're just going to push through with an event outdoors today.
Yeah, it seems like everyone is closing their doors if they're running any kind of outdoor operation, except for, unfortunately, the road crews and the construction workers who are still working today. Corin, please get a break inside. I so appreciate you filling us in.
You got it.
All right, that was Corin Hoggard, Fox 9 reporter, filling us in, covering the air quality today as Minneapolis is registering the worst air quality in the world today. If you want a break, the best air quality is in Sydney, Australia. Erica Mrazek, you ready to hop on a flight to Sydney or what? She's not ready. They told me she was ready. She's not ready. Are we going to go to weather or no? All right. They're telling me that we need to go to break instead. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We continue to follow the horrible air quality, record bad air quality in the Twin Cities right now. Erica Mrazek joins me now. Erica, if you want to break from the haze and the smoke, it looks like Sydney, Australia has the best air quality today. So just a short plane ride.
Hey, Courtney, I would love to go there if the flight was free. However, I would not want to pay for that. But I do want to go to Australia. It's on my bucket list. So
right now would be a good time to get away.
It would be, but it got to be here. So at the moment, still very hazy and very smoky outside, also hot. Around the metro area, there's an extreme heat warning that goes into Friday because temperatures in this heat island of the metro could still feel like the upper 90s for some. So still quite hot here around the Twin Cities. But elsewhere, because of the haze, it has kept temperatures a degree or two lower, as well as dew points, than there would be without the haze. So the heat advisories have been canceled for today, but still air quality alert out for almost the entire part of the state, except for towards the southwest area of Minnesota. So overall, the smoke moved in from the north and the east last night, kind of hovering right around the I-94 corridor for where it turns from smoky to not as bad. And that's going to try to meander back northeast later, but it's going to be more successful tonight into tomorrow. So that's whenever this kind of stationary boundary is going to lift north as a warm front. But then there's going to be another front that moves through from the northwest tomorrow. So with that, there could be a little bit of haze getting reintroduced to the area from northwest to southeast for parts of Friday into Saturday. But overall, if that does happen, it's not going to be as bad as it was when it moved in last night and for today. So improving air quality as you go throughout the rest of this week. At the moment, there's some hazardous air quality currently for the metro and very unhealthy as well and hazardous for areas north of the metro and around the Arrowhead. So just depending on the wind direction and how much of a breeze you get, it's going to go between very unhealthy to hazardous throughout your Thursday. And then conditions are too moderate towards the south and the west. So it does get better for places like Marshall, Worthington, and Fairmont. And I expect for tomorrow for areas to be more in the sensitive groups category, and then perhaps by the weekend looking better than that. And then also warm, so the combination is very interesting with the hot temperatures and the smokiness. Currently 90 here in the Twin Cities, temperatures 70s and 80s where you have limited sunshine because of the smoke, so not as much heating happening in places like International Falls and Ely. It does feel a touch warmer because the dew point's still a bit up there, feeling like 93 currently for the Twin Cities, even 98 for New Ulm is one of the warmest spots, 96 Rochester, and feeling like the 70s, 80s, and Grand Marais even feeling like the 50s, closer to Superior. Also, there's a couple areas that are getting a little bit wet right now, so most of the region is dry, but kind of where you have that boundary separating the haziest conditions to the not so bad around 94. There are just a little initiation points of some showers and rumbles, mostly by Wabasha and Buffalo counties down towards the south and east, and then also a little bit close to the border too. So just light moisture moving across parts of the region. Still super hazy here in the metro. You can barely see past beyond a few buildings here in Minneapolis. Air quality alert still out for the rest of today into parts of tomorrow, as well as that extreme heat warning here in the metro Thursday and to Friday, with the possibility of some more heat alerts getting put out elsewhere for tomorrow if there is enough clearing of the smoke and enough heating in the area Friday. And then your weekend still warm, but Courtney, by the time you get to next week, high temperatures return back to the mid to low 80s, so closer to average and even perhaps below average by about next Tuesday, Wednesday.
All right, Erica, it sounds like a break is coming. That is
eventually
so welcome.
In a couple of days, yes.
All right, thanks, Erica. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have been asking viewers to send us photos of the haze and the smoke at allday@fox.com. Here's some of the photos that you've sent us. Waylon in Duluth sent us this photo of the lift bridge. You can barely see it. You definitely can't see Lake Superior in that photo through the haze. And there you go. Looks like downtown Duluth there from Waylon. The haze covering the landscape there, so hard to see. Another one from Waylon out of Duluth. I can't even tell what that is. Must have been one of the ships in the harbor. I don't know. You can't even see Lake Superior with the haze. And then Cottage Grove, Doreen sent us this. You are seeing a little bit of blue sky peeking through. And when we had Corn Hoggard live just a short while ago, you could see that blue sky, sun poking through the clouds. That was a welcome sight as the sky has been covered in this gray haze since last night. Nice to see the sun poking through in some parts. This is Games Lake, sent to us by Greg. Not sure if this was today or last night. Looks like a sunset, so I think I have to believe this was taken last night. And really that haze picked up yesterday evening around the dinner time hour. This is downtown St. Paul. You can see that orange halo around the sun. So appreciate you guys sending us those photos. Grace, really interesting because we both were saying how we left work yesterday.
Yeah.
It was totally fine outside, blue skies, didn't smell anything. I went to make the kids dinner and then we left to go to the beach. We went outside and all of a sudden it was like, this smells like wildfire.
It came on so quickly, and I drove from Eden Prairie last night to St. Michael to help my parents move into a new house, and it was like hitting a wall. It looked like, you know how you can see a wall of rain? It kind of looks similar to that, and I was like, what is up ahead of us? And we drove into it, and I mean, it was so thick, but it looked like a wall of smoke. And then eventually when we got to St. Michael and came outside, it smelt very, very smoky. And we were unloading things from a pod and my mom was like, it smells like cigarette smoke in here. And I'm like, Mom, that's the wildfires. So it was pretty oppressive last night trying to move heavy furniture through not only the heat, but also the wildfire smoke. And so we were, doing our best to get the door closed when we could to prevent, smoke getting in, but also the air conditioning. But yeah, I could not believe how crazy it came into the cities.
Yeah, those wind patterns shifted and it came into the cities without a warning. It was like 1 minute it was fine. The next minute it smelled like we were in the middle of a wildfire and all of a sudden you could feel it in your lungs. And so we did our quick swim at the beach and then decided it's probably time to go in.
Probably. Yeah, probably no swimming tonight though.
Yeah, and a lot of events being canceled as well. So a lot of events canceled today. Valley Fair closing completely. The Minnehaha Art Festival is closed tomorrow preemptively. So a lot of places are saying it's just not safe. We're not going to continue. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. All right, we are seeing historically bad air quality across the Twin Cities metro and really across much of Minnesota today. Minneapolis is ranked as the top for air pollution today. The air is bad. It's really bad. And to talk all about it, we bring in Dr. Douglas McMahon with the Allergy and Asthma Center of Minnesota. Dr. McMahon, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Courtney.
What's your biggest concern when you see AQIs this high?
So as an asthma specialist, we really worry about these patients that have asthma. Their lungs are already very sensitive. Things irritate the lungs very, very easily. Especially my severe asthmatics, I really worry about them. I've already been getting some calls and talking to them to making sure that we optimize their asthma control so that they don't have significant problems.
So even if you stay inside all day, experts have been telling me that even then, the smoke particles are going to get into your house. I mean, what can your patients do that have sensitive lungs aside from leaving the state?
Yeah, exactly. I actually have a patient right now that is in our office that's normally from the northern suburbs and is kind of traveling down. They're thinking about even going further south, but that can't work for everybody. So one is making sure your asthma is optimally controlled if you have asthma or any other lung conditions. Make sure you're on top of it. You have medications in case things worsen at night. And then also consider getting an air purifier if you can. Some of these nice air purifiers in the homes really work pretty well. Make sure your filters on your air conditionings are filtered way down. And if necessary, you can even wear a mask inside. Probably not necessary in most cases, but you could.
The air quality index readings in Ely, Minnesota right now, that's the community that's closest to the fires, are about 8 times that of the maximum safe index. What concerns you there for those individuals who remain in Ely?
Yes, I can't imagine what it's like. As I said, this patient that's with me now, they actually are coming from around that area, and they said it's so bad that that even indoors they're feeling it. They can smell it, they can taste it, and being affected. And so, I also have another patient that unfortunately is in the boundary waters right now, talking about their asthma, and so trying to get them possibly out of there as quick as possible. Fortunately, with the advances of telehealth, a lot of times we can do visits with people, telehealth visits now. And so if people aren't under good control, we can kind of help them along that pathway.
So obviously there's short-term effects of inhaling this wildfire smoke, but do we believe that there are long-term effects?
That's a good question. I guess we'll possibly never know, but I would assume that if this lasted a long time and people were outside for a long time, that yes, these can really cause some significant damage long term, almost like somebody was smoking. You know, it takes a little bit of some time to develop those long term symptoms and scarring in the lungs, but short term can definitely even last weeks after the smoke is gone.
For your patients who have asthma, can you just describe to us what they might be feeling right now?
Mm-hmm. So I grew up with severe asthma. That's why I went into this field, actually. And I always explain asthma attack is almost like an elephant is sitting on your chest, or somebody's really pushing down on your chest and you're trying to take a breath. So it's just hard to get that air in. It's just kind of a restricted feeling on that is a big sense of that. Sometimes more mucus production is something that asthma patients will have. And then also wheezing. It's like a whistling sound you might hear with it as well. But also patients with allergies in general are being affected. So not even just the asthmatics. People that have allergies, their noses are often inflamed, their eyes are inflamed from environmental allergens. And so now the nose and the eyes are already irritated, and now the smoke is irritating them even more. And so we're seeing these people that, you know, have allergies, have asthma being more impacted with this poor air quality.
What is it about the smoke particles that triggers the asthma?
Yeah, and so it acts as an irritant in the lungs. And so the lungs are a bunch of big tubes, and they have nerves in them. And so the nerves can be irritated and produce more mucus. And so I often kind of like to show patients like a little diagram here. As I said, there's a bunch of tubes as your lungs, and what can happen, those particles can tighten those up. So all of a sudden, now your lungs are definitely more tight here. And so instead of being nice and open, it tightens it. But also you can get swelling in the lungs. And so kind of more swelling, and then also some mucus production in the lungs there. And so all those things are happening in the lungs because of those particles in there. So a combination of any of those can be occurring.
And it's my understanding that children are at higher risk of being impacted from these smoke particles. Why?
So children, a couple of things. So actually, my daughter was supposed to have a softball tournament today, and during the day, and fortunately, it was canceled. Um, and the children with their smaller lungs, so they're going to have more surface area affected by this. They also, because as their lungs are kind of growing and maturing, they're having a little bit more nerves and some more openings in those lung tissues where we can have more particles coming in there and causing some irritation in there.
Even though we're going to see the smoke leave tomorrow, but will the impact remain? I mean, the winds are going to shift. We're going to see some of this smoke lift. Will the impacts remain?
Yeah. So, it's not going to be 100% better tomorrow in regards to smoke, so there'll still be some irritations. But the people that have been affected, especially the people who have sensitive lungs, whether they have COPD, emphysema, asthma, whatever it is, it's really irritating to those lungs. And so I guess you could kind of think of it as like a bruise. And so it takes a while to get it healed and everything like that. And so, yes, a lot of times it takes a few days to even a week to get under better control. And sometimes the people with allergies as well, their nose remains inflamed for a few days. And unfortunately, some of the people that gets really inflamed, it blocks the sinuses from draining. And then you can develop into a sinus infection, which a lot of times those people present with sinus pain, pressure here or in the forehead, or significant nasal discharge. Is kind of how those all manifest.
What about people who have not historically suffered from asthma and allergies, but this week they have felt like maybe there's something more going on than just some irritation? How do we know the difference between normal irritation from smoke inhalation as opposed to a serious medical condition coming on?
Yeah. So if you've never had any symptoms of like seasonal allergens, sneezing, itchy eyes, stuffy nose, unlikely right now would be kind of a time for that, because this is not the highest allergy season. The tree pollens have already stopped pollinating. The weeds, which normally cause a lot of problems, are just about to start pollinating. And so we're kind of in a little bit of a lull for allergies. And so if it's right now, it's probably the smoke, if it came out of nowhere. Also for breathing, sometimes something can insult somebody, and that can be the first manifestation of asthma, is that they got irritated by something, with smoke, an animal, a pollen, and all of a sudden, gosh, maybe I do have asthma. So if you feel like your breathing really was affected and doesn't quickly get better tomorrow or the next day, it might maybe be worth having an evaluation. Normally what we do is some breathing tests, listen to the lungs, or just breathe into some machines, can easily assess how the lungs are functioning.
Okay. Dr. Douglas McMahon with the Allergy and Asthma Center of Minnesota, I so appreciate you joining us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good day.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Mic on, there we go. Earlier this week, we told you about two groups of campers that had to be rescued after they were stranded in a remote area of Canada near the U.S. border. There were several other campers in the BWCA when these fires broke out, dozens, in fact. Elaine Faust is one of those campers. She joins us with her mom, Carrie Faust. Now, Elaine, you weren't one of the campers that had to be airlifted to safety, but you were evacuated. Can you just tell me what that was like for you, having to evacuate the Boundary Waters?
It was pretty stressful and it was like very exhausting. 'Cause I mean, every single time we would portage, we just end up back in the fire, I'd say. So it was definitely very stressful.
Now, Carrie, when you sent her to camp, were these wildfires going, or did this all start after she left home?
I don't think that they were as pervasive in the news, certainly. So it wasn't top of mind that there was necessarily a wildfire danger. As time went on, I became more concerned about just the heat as an issue, and the physical aspect of trying to manage because they're out in the woods and, thinking, is she getting enough water? With all the physical exertion of canoeing and hiking all day and sleeping outside, etc. So it wasn't until over the past several days, certainly, that with the pervasiveness of the fires, it became more of a concern.
And Elaine, when did they tell you these fires were getting close and you guys needed to move? I mean, how did that unfold?
The first day, I think we were on Ensign Lake, and I talked to my counselor and I was like, I smell smoke. And we turn around and there's a big cloud of smoke behind us. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of just how we found out, is we just had to like look around, and yeah, they were very visible.
You arrived at Camp Widgewagon on Monday, July 6th. That is the night that they say they got this big lightning storm that started all these fires. Do you remember a big storm that night?
I remember it raining. I don't remember really seeing lightning or hearing thunder.
Wow. Mom, how has this been for you? I mean, what was the communication like? Once you realized the Boundary Waters were closing, that news came out on Monday. I can't imagine the panic you felt as a mother.
We've had a long history of working with the YMCA of the North system. We've participated in going to camp at Camp de Nord for quite a number of years, and I've had other relatives that have participated in the Widgewagon experience, and they're very well trained. So I had a lot of faith in the camp there and the staff, and so I believed strongly that they would come out of this just fine, as they have. So I think it's been a great learning experience.
Yes, certainly.
For her, certainly.
Wow, yeah, lots of life lessons to learn in that one trip. You said that when they were, plans changed a lot because once they got in there, the fire started and then they weren't able to camp where they were supposed to camp, then they were having to move around. You said in one day she paddled 18 miles and had 6 miles of portages. Elaine, I'm curious, that had to be exhausting. Can you just talk to us about all the paddling and portaging you had to do because you guys were having to move around so much with the fires?
So usually every day, we have this thing called trail time where we don't know what time our counselor wakes us up at, but she told us when we got evacuated that every day she woke us up at 6 a.m. and we'd start paddling around 7 or 8 a.m. And that night when it was around 4 p.m., she told me that we had to evacuate and start portaging. And yeah, we portaged that whole night, and we didn't get to our campsite until like 9:30, and we had to camp somewhere that wasn't a campsite. So, yeah.
How was the communication, Elaine? Did they tell you on Monday that there was going to be a closure of the Boundary Waters? Did they make you aware that the Boundary Waters was closing and that's why you guys had to get out?
We went on trail on Thursday. On Monday, so Monday, they did a very good job of communicating where we need to go and when we need to be there. But I forget what day it was that we initially called and they said that we need to start making way.
So the communication was one way, or how was the communication? How was your counselor getting information?
The satellite phone works from the counselor has to call camp, not camp can call you. You have to be the one that reaches out.
Do you remember, we've heard so many stories from campers where other paddlers were paddling by and notifying people, or rangers were paddling by notifying people, or was it your camp counselor who found out? I mean, did you encounter people who said, hey, you guys got to get out? Or was it just your counselor knowing we need to leave?
On the day before we paddled all night, we ran into a different group on the portage, and we weren't sure then how big the fires were, but they told us that the BWCA is shutting down, but we didn't really go off that information because we didn't really know who they were. So, then I think that night my counselor called camp and we just camped, and then the next day we started paddling.
Elaine, you seem pretty brave. Was there ever a moment of fear for you in all of this?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely all like the long paddles, and paddling through whitecaps and wind was definitely very scary and challenging.
Carrie, how much have you been able to get from your daughter since she returned home? I'm sure you have so many questions about this journey that she's been on.
Well, I've tried to give her some space and let her get her rest, and certainly catch up on her sleep, as well as have some favorite meals. She definitely was hungry coming off of that trip. But yeah, I think this is one for the books, that, as she shared with her grandparents, one to share with her grandchildren. Stories, certainly.
So they got them out of the Boundary Waters, it sounds like, on Tuesday, right? And then they must have stayed on shore Tuesday night and then drove back to the Twin Cities yesterday?
Yes, we evacuated camp yesterday, but we evacuated trail on Tuesday.
When I look at the map, Camp Widgie seems very, very close to the campfire. Have you guys gotten any word as to if the camp is still standing?
I've been following social media, and I haven't seen any alerts that there are concerns yet of that. But I also have been working today, so I haven't been as engaged. So I don't know today, but yeah, we're definitely concerned about that, as well as Camp Denord up there, and as well as all those families on Lake Burnside.
Yeah. When you look at the map, it's just, wow, it's right there. Do you think that you'll be sending Elaine back to Camp Widgie and back into the Boundary Waters after this?
Well, I think that's a decision for Elaine.
Elaine, what do you think?
It definitely was an experience that I will never forget, but I think it was definitely good for me to see everything that happened. And I mean, I really like Widgie, so yeah.
That's amazing. You know, I'm not going to lie, all these stories of these campers has made me just want to go camping in the Boundary Waters even more. So it's so beautiful there, and, you know, the fires won't ruin it, that's for sure. Once it's clear, I'm sure that all the campers will return. Elaine Faust was a camper who had to evacuate out of the Boundary Waters this week. She just returned home last night, and her mom, Carrie, joined us. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you.
We're glad you're all safe. All right, such a fascinating story, harrowing story. We are going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. The northern Minnesota wildfires are impacting more than just homes, businesses, and campgrounds, hotels. It's also impacting some of the state's most iconic wildlife refuges and organizations that are based in Ely, Minnesota. The International Wolf Center is there in Ely, and while they're still opening, they are having to adjust operations and make plans in case they have to evacuate. Look at this video here. You can see the haze and smoke over the Wolf Center as they prepare for a possible evacuation. They've been told to be ready just in case as these wildfires continue to burn. Like I mentioned, the center remains open. Staff have been forced to adapt as conditions change, but the care for the wolves never changes. Krista Warheide joins me now. Krista, thank you so much for coming on our show. I know that you guys are busy and under a lot of stress, so thank you for making the time.
Thanks for having me.
So what's the current status? I know you guys are open and still welcoming visitors. What's your current status and how are you remaining operational?
We are open, so we are still operating with our normal summer hours, which is 9 to 5 every day. We are telling everyone that that is definitely subject to change. At this moment, the International Wolf Center and the immediate area right around us is not in one of the ready, set, go zones that they have established for getting people prepared for evacuations. However, moving wolves is not exactly a particularly quick, and it can be a little bit of a complicated task. So we are very ready for that. We did close for part of the day so that we could let our staff go home and get ready. We do have staff that are in various stages of that evacuation zone, and then we had the opportunity to really dig into our existing wildfire evacuation plan and make adjustments as needed just based on this particular fire and situation.
So what happens if you do have to evacuate? What do you do with the wolves?
So we would move the wolves off site. As you can probably imagine, they don't generally just walk into a crate. So we would need to chemically immobilize them. So our vet care plan is developed with our wolf care team and our local veterinarian that we work really closely with. And that is developed and has been part of our organization and our USDA license for having wolves on our facility. So they would be chemically immobilized, loaded into individual crates, and then those crates are loaded into a couple of different vehicles and then are driven off site. So we do have a few options. We wanted to make sure that we had different routes, different roads. If a different fire came up in a different direction, we want to be ready for that. So we have some staging areas identified, and then we have a bit longer term options that are in a few different places around the state, actually.
And I know you're open and you continue to show up for work every day, but I have to imagine the personal stress is a lot. I'm sure there are people on your staff who maybe had to be evacuated or at least have to be set and ready to go. What is it like there just for you guys personally?
Honestly, it's pretty stressful. We do have staff that are in go zones that did need to actually leave their homes, and they don't know when they're going to be able to go back to them. And we certainly also have staff that are in set zones and others that are right next to those set zones. So we have an incredible community, both within the Wolf Center itself and our staff, but also within the Ely community of really a ton of support for each other. So we gave each other, we closed for half a day to give each other that time to be able to go home and pack. And then we came back to work. We really felt like that was also an important part of our community, but also us being together and taking care of our wolves and making sure everything is ready.
The air quality index in Ely is astronomical. It's about 8 times that of the maximum safe index. Obviously bad for humans, but I've read that it's also bad for animals. Are the wolves able to be outside right now, and how are you guys dealing with that?
They are outside. There is definitely a concern about that air quality. It is certainly not great, but we have provided a couple of different options for our wolves. We've changed a little bit of our programming. So we generally do an enrichment program, we call it, at noon and at 4 each day. And that is something interesting for the wolves. It could be a snack, it could be something to smell, it could be something different that just they don't see every day that makes them use their senses and explore their environment a bit more. And we have mostly suspended that. If they are resting comfortably, we have chosen to not encourage them to get up from wherever they've chosen to be. But we also have an indoor space that they have access to, so they can choose to go into a building that has a wolf-proof kennel space that they can rest in. And we have a few fans set up, even in part of their outdoor space. They have a 1.25 acre enclosure, and we've got very large industrial fans set up so that there are some kind of safer zones for them that they are choosing to use those areas.
What about wolves in the wild? Do you guys have concerns about the wild animals in the region right now who are having to flee from these wildfires?
We do. I have not heard a lot about kind of different activity patterns, or at least that people are seeing. I would assume that those wild animals, the bears, the wolves, the deer, all of them are adjusting and probably fairly quickly leaving those areas. We have not seen any kind of major change in activity of wildlife, at least with kind of within the Ely area and really close to town. I haven't seen wolf activity. I haven't seen any additional bear or deer activity. I would think that some of those fires are a little bit farther out and they have the option to kind of continue to flee farther into the wilderness, which is probably what a lot of them are doing.
Are people actually still coming in and visiting? I can't imagine many people are, out and about in Ely, but are people still coming in?
They are. Town has gotten a little bit quieter for sure. I think the evacuations that are happening fairly close to us, quite close to us, and include areas that have a lot of resorts and outfitters that are really being impacted. It has gotten a little less busy in town as far as just the summer traffic and tourists that are visiting our area. But people are still coming. I think there are people still in areas that are not part of that evacuation zone and aren't in any of those ready, set, goes. And it's also an indoor space. So our wolves do live outside, but our facility for the visitor experience is entirely indoors. And so we had just ridiculous amounts of heat, and now we have fires and pretty terrible air quality. And so I think it's a pretty good place for people that are looking for a little bit of a reprieve and a space to go and learn about wolves while they're at it.
Just so people understand more what you do there, are these wolves that have been rescued, are they unable to live in the wild anymore, or what's the situation and how many do you have there?
Yeah, we have 5 wolves and they are our ambassador wolves. We actually adopt them as fairly young wolves from other facilities roughly every 4 years. And we do that to maintain an ambassador wolf pack. And we do that because we're teaching people about wolves. We're teaching about biology and ecology and their role in the ecosystem and the wolf and human relationship. So our pack of 5 wolves lives in an 1.25 acre enclosure, and then we have exhibits and staff and really cool programs that teach about wolves. So our wolves, because of that, they were born in a captive environment and are still under human care. They are not able to be released, and they would not have been originally, even prior to us adopting them. But that's how we have our wolf pack and then maintain those wolves with us.
And you talked about having to load them into crates and relocate them if you do get evacuated, which who knows right now. But I know you guys are thinking about that and having to prepare for that possibility. Where do you go then? I mean, do you just go to Babbitt? Do you have a location? Or, I mean, where do you go? You can't go to the Babbitt Evacuation Center, right?
So I actually haven't called them to ask, but maybe I should. We actually have a couple of options. So one of ours is on the way to Babbitt. Our plan involves staging areas. So as one can probably imagine, the wolves would be chemically immobilized. They would be asleep. However, we still need to be able to check on them and check on them pretty regularly while they're in their transport crates. So we have a few places along the way that are identified as staging areas that we can stop, at least unload the crates out of the trucks if we need to. Ideally, we wouldn't need to, but we could. And then we would be able to check on them, make sure their temperature is okay, make sure that that level of drugs that's keeping them asleep is sufficient and that they are doing okay, and then continue on our way. And we have a couple of places. One is actually along the North Shore, and some are also closer to the Twin Cities area that we could go to. So those staging areas are really meant for us to be able to check on the wolves, but also assess where everything is. So we wanted to be able to, if a fire popped up in one direction, we needed to have a route that we knew we could take, and staging areas in another location that we could land at regardless of where the fires are.
Have you ever had to evacuate the wolves?
We have not, and I'm really hoping that this is not the first time.
Yeah, I hope so too. What does it look like outside there right now? And have you seen any improvement since yesterday?
It's very hazy. It is very thick. I would not say that I've seen improvements. I think it's different. Yesterday there was a definite different color of glow to the sky, just as the sun was coming up, and the smoke and all of that was kind of mixing as the sun came up in the morning. And now it's just a pretty thick haze that is kind of everywhere. And it's pretty thick. You can see it through town. You can see it out every window. And the smell is pretty strong.
Wow. Well, I hope you know that everyone across the state is thinking about you guys. You are quite the resilient community up there in northern Minnesota. So
that we are, and we appreciate it. We have had some amazing notes and things sent, and I can say for sure that that has been really helpful. It has been a bit of a hard week, so we thank everybody.
Krista Warheide from the International Wolf Center, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So many businesses impacted, you just can't even realize. Wow, as these wildfires continue to rage in northern Minnesota. We're going to take a quick break. I think we're going to take a live look out at Minneapolis so you can see that haze on our way to break, and then we'll be back after this. Welcome back. Well, it's not just Minneapolis that's experiencing some of the worst air quality in history. Milwaukee's air quality is also hazardous today, so we wanted to check in with one of our colleagues at Fox 6 Milwaukee. Ashley Sears joins us now. It's pretty bad here in Minneapolis, so I'm curious to hear what it's like there.
Yeah, so it's terrible here, to be honest. I'm sitting inside what's called the Schlitz Audubon Nature Center, which is located in a suburb just north of Milwaukee, and it's right around the lakefront. And hundreds of campers come here daily. There's about 200 kids that come here, and it's usually nature camp that's held outdoors along the trails. It's really beautiful. And today, all those kiddos were forced inside. But we got a look around the grounds here, and the trails are still open, but there are very few, if any, hikers out and about. My photographer actually climbed the top of a 60-foot tower, and from up there you couldn't even see Lake Michigan, which is kind of shocking. But a lot of events in this area, a lot of outdoor activities from pools and beer gardens, all forced to close today because of the poor air quality.
I don't know how long you've been in Milwaukee, Ashley, but can you remember another time when the haze and smoke from wildfires has been this bad?
Yeah, Courtney, I've been here 14 years. I can tell you, I don't ever have a memory of it being this bad. I would say 3 years ago, it was bad. We all thought that was the worst of it. But today, when I got up, I first of all checked to see if my daughter had tennis camp today, because I was like, they can't possibly go outside in this. And then when I stepped outside from work and actually like breathe that air, I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And luckily camp was canceled. So she didn't have to play tennis outside and get her Serena Williams moves in.
Yeah, so it sounds like much of the same as here in Minneapolis. Everything seems to be getting canceled, all the camps, all the activities, all the events. Last I checked, Milwaukee was in the top 5 for the most polluted major cities. I don't know where they sit now. But what are the city officials there advising?
Right now, they're advising people to just stay indoors. I know our DPW workers aren't doing their normal trash pickup. Various services have been canceled. But, you know, everyone's being told to stay inside. And if you're not inside and you are going out, to wear that N95 mask that we all know so well from the COVID era. But I talked to a physician with Children's Hospital here in Milwaukee who says, you know, this is especially bad for kids. We all know that their lungs are still developing right now. And it's more than what meets the eye. It's these tiny little particles that not only get in the lungs, but could then get in the blood and cause some other issues too. So people are taking it pretty seriously. Out and about, you see people wearing masks, and it almost feels like a ghost town around here.
Yeah, very similar to here. Have you had a chance to talk to any of those kiddos at that camp, and how are their spirits having to be forced inside today?
You know, I think because we came off that big heat wave, they were kind of happy to be indoors maybe a little bit. They were reading books, and they were still having that nature experience. They kind of brought some things from outside indoors. But, you know, kids can get stir crazy. It's been really hot, and now there's this, and you don't want to spend too much time outdoors. So their spirits may be dampened, but I think a couple of Bluey episodes and they'll be fine.
Good advice. You know, it's hard to explain to young kids. I've got a 6-year-old and a 3.5-year-old, and they just can't seem to wrap their head around how they can't see the fire, but it smells like fire, and they see smoke, and they can't do all the fun things. So it's a tough position to be in. Ashley, I appreciate you joining us there from Milwaukee. Stay strong. Glad you're inside and getting a break from the smoke.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right, we're going to take Erica Mrazek, who is right there at the weather wall. Listen, it sounds like Milwaukee is having quite the same experience as we are. Really bad haze, lots of events canceled, and it's just going to stick around throughout the day.
It will. Hey, Courtney. Everywhere across a lot of the Northeast is pretty bad. My friends over in Detroit, she texted me. She was saying it's terrible there. And my parents in Pittsburgh also texted me, and they're like, we're getting the smoke too from Minnesota and Canada. So it's just making its way across parts of the Northeast, across the Great Lakes region, and even to states that are far from here. But here, definitely some very poor air quality alerts out into tomorrow for almost the entire state, except for southwest of the Minnesota River Valley. And then on top of that, it's also hot. It's about the 5th-ish day, 6th-ish day, with the high reaching the 90s here in the Twin Cities metro. Extreme heat warning for areas around the Twin Cities because of that urban heat island effect. So the concrete, the buildings trapping that heat. Elsewhere, areas around Fargo, very far northwest corner of Minnesota, do have some heat advisories, but everyone else does not have heat alerts. However, by tomorrow, there could be some more heating. So there could be some more introduced into the area, depending on how quick the smoke clears out and how much the southwest breeze brings in some warmth tomorrow. So yesterday, the haze moved in from the north and the east, and the smoke, it kind of made its way around the 94 corridor, a little bit southwest of it too. As we head into the rest of the evening, the boundary that's kind of been right around the 94 corridor is going to slowly go north and east, but better chances for that smoke to retreat more for Friday. However, I am tracking another boundary that's going to move from the northwest to the southeast on Friday. That's going to kind of pull a little bit of that smoke back down and around into parts parts of central and southern Minnesota, but that'll be more of a haze. The very smokiness, the worst of it is today. It will be improving, not necessarily like linearly all the time, but it will be improving basically each day as you head towards Friday and Saturday. So at the moment, the air quality is between hazardous, very unhealthy around the Twin Cities, as well as places north and east. And then it improves when you go south and west. So it is good, or not good, but it is moderate in southwest Minnesota, which is considered acceptable. And then it's also hot. Temperature 93 currently in the metro, some 70s up north, 70s where there's been more smoke, so not as much sunlight and solar radiation. So that keeps the temperatures not as warm up there. However, it feels a little bit warmer though with all these temperatures because of your warm dew points. So it currently feels like 96 in the Twin Cities, 98 near New Ulm, and even feeling like about 99 near La Crosse. It did feel like the triple digits there a little bit ago earlier this afternoon. So continuing to really feel this oppressive heat plus the gross smoky air. Along the boundary where the region is split between smokiness and good air, there's also a few little rumbles of thunder. That's in southeast Minnesota and parts of western Wisconsin, as well as a few showers up around the border. There is a chance for a few isolated showers through tonight in northern Minnesota and parts of Canada connected to that, and then a chance for just very few isolated showers through tomorrow. That's going to be mostly for places in the north and the east, and low potential that some of those storms could pack a punch, but the potential is there. And here's a look outside right now, Minneapolis. This looks better than it did at about 2-3 o'clock. So that's good news as the smoke slowly lifts towards the north and the east. Still that air quality alert, so best to be inside, and still the extreme heat warning for the metro into tomorrow. Then after that, the weekend starts to improve. Temperatures are still going to be warm in the low 90s, but it's not going to be as bad as it's been lately. And then the haze is also getting better. And then after that, continued improvement with your next best chance of a shower being Sunday night to Monday, and also a return perhaps to some temperatures that are near seasonable. So Courtney, by the time you get to about Tuesday, Wednesday, high temperatures could be in the mid to low 80s for parts of next week.
And so wonderful to see some precipitation right there on the Canadian border, hopefully giving these firefighters some help.
Yeah, a little bit's better than nothing. Definitely need a lot more, but we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Erica Marisik, thank you so much.
Thanks.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the time of the day when we like to take a look at what is trending on social media in a segment we like to call, wait, what's happening? We have a few things to talk about today, Grace. Netflix is coming out with a documentary about the Idaho murders. Now, the reason why this is included in our, wait, what's happening segment today is because there's already been so many documentaries out that I think they're getting a lot of the press is like, why?
Yeah, and these murders happened in 2022, so almost about 4 years ago. And yeah, there's been a document, like you said, on Peacock and on other streaming Prime and other streaming sites.
Yeah.
So it's like, what more is there to talk about in this Netflix documentary? But I mean, we were just chatting during the commercial break. Like, we all kind of want to watch it. I haven't seen either of the other documentaries.
I would be interested to watch it only because I haven't watched the other two.
Yep.
However, I think there's plenty of people. I think your audience is narrowed, so I'm not sure why Netflix would pay all this money to produce this when the other ones jumped on it earlier. Like, you were too late.
Right. And it's almost like if they have to, if you want people to watch it, they should try to hook you in with something like there's new information or something. But it kind of feels like,
I think they interviewed the same people.
Exactly, and it's like to put them through that. It was obviously a very traumatic event, and to have these people talk about it again and again and again. That's kind of, I don't know how I feel about it.
Little icky.
I agree.
On a much lighter note, Olive Garden is offering a. What kind of a transition is that?
On a much lighter note.
Hard transition, Grace.
Yeah.
They're offering a never-ending pasta pass. I'm intrigued.
Me
This I
too.
could sign up for.
Okay, so I actually need to go online because it released at like 1 o'clock our time, and we were, on the air or about to go on the air, so we were a little bit.
Yeah, they might
busy.
be sold out.
I'm sure they're sold out.
They were selling a pasta pass for unlimited dine-in, so you can't take out dine-in visits, starting August 24th, and it goes for 13 weeks. So they were only going to sell 10,000 of these, and they were $100 each. So you can eat as many times as you like at Olive Garden for 13 weeks. Let me tell you, Grace, with the cost of groceries these days, I would be willing to buy everyone in my family a $100 pass, and we would be eating at Olive Garden every single night.
Well, you can get a super salad for your first course. And then, I mean, that's how you get veggies or a soup. You could just eat the soup for dinner, breadsticks, and then you get,
I could eat pasta for dinner every night.
Me
I don't
too.
know about you.
And you can switch up your proteins every night, unlimited toppings. So, I mean, that sounds like a great deal. Unfortunately, they are sold out. They have sold out. So for people looking to buy a pasta pass, you are unable to. Hopefully they'll bring this back in a
They've done it before.
6 years ago.
Yes.
They did it. I hadn't heard of it until I was scrolling social media today. But
I need to understand. So are they just betting that this is such great PR for them that all the news outlets are going to write something up about this pasta pass?
Yeah.
Are they just saying, okay, it's worth selling 10,000 of these, and we know we're going to lose money because these people are going to eat at Olive Garden every day for 13 weeks? Is it just for the press, or are they actually running the numbers and taking a bet that you're going to buy this pass and you're not going to eat as much as you think you're going to eat?
It's probably a little bit of both, I would imagine, because they probably made $1 million within 5 minutes. $1 million where, I don't know, again, like they've done it in the past and they took a little bit of a break. Not really sure why they took a break, but they brought it back for some reason.
Because they lose money on the deal.
Well, do you think so? Do you really think that
I'm not sure.
I mean, there?
Certainly when I run the math in my head, and I'm no mathematician,
right?
If you're selling them to people like me who want to get their money's worth, you're losing money.
You're going to lose money.
Yeah.
Did you say Lauren Andrego? She's done it before. Lauren. Lauren Andrego has tried to do it twice. Our one of our reporters, she's done it twice. No, she's done it twice. She tried to do it today and did not get it, but she has done it in the past. So we should have got her on the show for an interview.
Live interview with Lauren Andrego.
Yeah.
Did she actually eat at Olive Garden every day of those 13 weeks? I guarantee you she got her $100 worth.
Yeah. Yes.
Lauren is very determined.
She sure is. I wish I would have got that deal, but next time.
Let's take a look at some of these videos you pulled in for me, Grace. Shall we do the pigeon first? This one.
Yeah, give me a minute. I do want to shout out though. Kris Jenner's mom, MJ, has passed away at the age of 91. I have to talk about this. I just do. I am a big Kardashians girl. I don't know if you know that about me. I love the Kardashians. I don't know why. They're very it's like a comfort show for me. I love keeping up with them.
You love keeping up?
I love keeping up with them. Since middle school, I've paid attention to this, and this is really big news for me. I mean, we've been
I think she was the only sane person in that family, so it's such a shame that she's gone now.
Well, she was the matriarch. Like, Kris Jenner was not the matriarch. MJ, her mom, was the matriarch, and yeah, I mean, she was pretty. Yeah, she was
in her
great.
90s, right?
She was 91. But yeah, so shout out to MJ. My thoughts are with the Kardashian and Jenner family today. But yeah, I do have the pigeon video if you're ready for that.
So random, but thank you, Grace.
Sorry, I had to.
We could have a master class in working with Gen Z, let me tell you. Every day. Every day it's a master
You're
class.
the one that went, on a lighter note, you went from the Idaho murders to the never-ending pasta pass. So
listen,
you never know what you're going to get with us.
Listen, I come from the news business. I've worked in the news business for way too long, and that's what we call a hard transition. But they happen all the time. Usually producers do it to you. You didn't do it to me. I did it to myself. I apologize. So firefighters, I don't know if you know this, Grace, don't always stop just for flames, but they stop to save birds.
Aww.
Watch this. After stopping a vehicle fire, a crew from Oakland firefighters, Local 55, noticed a pigeon having some difficulty breathing due to suspected smoke inhalation. So they decided to help. They administered the pigeon with some oxygen, and the bird shortly flew away after clearing out its lungs. I didn't know that you could give a pigeon oxygen. Like, that mask looks way too big for the pigeon's face.
I know. Logistically, here I'll rewind it so we can play it again. Yeah, that doesn't. I don't know if it's doing. It's really doing anything.
This is a very California thing to do.
Oh, is it really?
Very California. You know, because I grew up in Northern California, not far from Oakland. And people in Oakland, every living being deserves a chance. That's the motto in California.
I love
and so
that.
I think in a lot of parts of the country, they would have been like, oh, look at the bird.
A pigeon.
Maybe
It's a
even
pigeon.
put it out of its misery.
Seriously.
But no, in Oakland, they revive it.
Yeah. I love that. I mean,
some people eat pigeons, Grace.
I know. And
did you ever see Mary Poppins, the pigeon lady?
I did. I feel like there's like people in two camps. One camp that hate pigeons, think they're disgusting, and another camp that has sympathy for the pigeons because they were. I don't know. I should have looked up the pigeon lore after this. I was not the person to do this video. Paul Milgate should have done this interview, or this video. Apparently, there's this whole lore about.
There's a lore about pigeons.
Yeah, like they've been treated unfairly in the U.S. because they've been brought over and then they kind of grew and now people look down upon them.
Yes, like the pigeon lady in Mary Poppins. She was a weirdo because she fed the pigeons. And that's all you need to know about pigeons. You know that I've totally gone over the line with Grace when she goes off video. All right, let's do the next one. On a more serious note, satellite imagery from July 15th, so just yesterday, documented this thick smoke that we are experiencing due to these Canadian and Minnesota wildfires. Bring this up. This is amazing. Just to see the satellite imagery of the smoke making its way across that Canadian border there and making its way into the northeast. You can see right there exactly why the Midwest as well as the Northeast is having these hazy, smoky conditions right now. Because in my mind, when we were hearing, oh, well, the air quality is really bad in the Northeast right now too, I'm thinking, why is it bad in the Northeast? Like, that's nowhere near here. Well,
Yep.
this satellite image
Yeah,
just
you can
shows you
see the wind
perfectly.
patterns.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, even in, like, I was looking around the country for different air qualities. In Iowa, in one of the northern cities in Iowa, the air quality was 61. So beautiful, and that's 2 hours away from here. So it really is like night and day in different parts around the U.S.
So we have over a dozen fires burning in northern Minnesota right now.
Mm-hmm.
Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center reports that over 859 active fires are burning right now. So, and most of those are in remote areas where they just let the wildfires burn. It's part of nature's natural cycle. But it's kind of amazing when we think about how devastating these fires up north in Minnesota are, and there's a dozen of them. 859 burning in Canada right now.
That's a shocking number.
4 million acres have burned so far across Canada.
Gosh. I mean, this again, like, this does happen every summer, and it's a natural part of everything. But that just seems like an alarming number. So it's just, and it's so much smoke, like so much smoke. And I remember last year it was pretty bad for a few days, and you know, it was a little bit hazy. But this is next level.
We have had officials tell us that this is historic air quality levels. So we have never seen air quality this bad for this long, ever, which is pretty stunning. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Well, the wildfires burning in northern Minnesota are no longer just impacting Canadians and those living in the Arrowhead region. It is now affecting millions across the country as air quality levels have hit historically bad highs. Pat McCone with the American Lung Association joins me now. Pat, thanks for joining me.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.
So what's your concern when we're talking air quality levels so bad that we've never seen them like this before?
The concern, of course, for for us as the Lung Association are the lungs. That's kind of where it starts by the intake of, with this kind of, with fires like this, the particles are very small and they go very deep into the lungs. So there's not only a lung risk, but there also are cardiac risks because those toxins actually get into the blood. We know that our blood comes to our lungs and picks up oxygen, but these tiny particles can be, this can be a deadly situation for people.
So officials are advising to stay inside if you can, wear an N95 mask if you have to go outside. But what about for those who have to work outside? We contacted the Minnesota Department of Transportation today, and they said that, work continues. They are offering workers masks, but the work continues. What about those who are working outside today?
Well, workers are at risk outside for sure. I actually had to go to the pharmacy today, and I noticed our city workers were wearing N95 masks. Masks are some protection, but they're not total protection. And whenever possible, I think that if there can be alternative sites inside, especially for vulnerable populations, the senior citizens, there may be seniors that are still working, there may be workers with asthma or COPD, emphysema, or again, those heart issues that are also come into impact with this. Children outside, it's just not healthy at all. And if we can avoid it at all, we want to. If we can mitigate it with an N95, that's helpful. But not everyone also in this heat, having a mask over your mouth can be really, it can feel claustrophobic.
What about for those people who say, well, I'm perfectly healthy, I don't have asthma, I don't have heart conditions. Why shouldn't I be allowed to practice my free will and get outside? What is the risk even for healthy lungs?
Well, what you can't say is I don't have any lungs. Okay, so this is pollutants, very small pollutants getting into the lungs very deeply. So everyone is vulnerable to having health risk from that. And for some people, those risks can be deadly. So take that advice, use that. Again, you can say, I want to do this, or I don't have this or that, but we all have lungs, and all lungs are impacted by inhaling this smoke.
Are you completely protected when you're inside, or are those smoke particles still getting into our homes?
Well, we can do lots of things to prevent them getting in. Closing the windows, closing the doors. If you have an air filter, that helps. If you have air conditioning, you have to check if you're not bringing in outside air to cool it. But all those things can be helpful. Limiting the time you open the door and close it, all of that can help. I know where I am. It's very smoky. I'm in the northern part. I'm in Superior, Wisconsin, right across the bridge from Duluth. And I can tell when the door has been opened more than once, or somebody goes out to the car. It definitely has it is, like we say, these are historic numbers of air pollution that we are experiencing for now. We have several days in a row and maybe more to come.
Is there any concern that someone maybe doesn't know of any lung conditions, and then all of a sudden this bad air comes in and those issues are realized?
Sure. If you're feeling short of breath at all, if you're feeling like a heavy chest, or it's like something's off, dizzy, lightheaded, definitely you want to check with a healthcare provider, especially in these times. We've got both heat and the highest levels of air pollution we've experienced in our state for days on end here.
This may seem silly, but is there any way to flush your lungs after being out in conditions like this?
There's no flushing them. We're just hoping the air clears, that we get some respite, rain. We also know that the ultimate prevention actually goes, this is climate driven, and the trends that we're experiencing, not only here, but you're mentioning across the country, these are making these type of events even more severe and lasting longer and happening more frequently.
Do you have to go out and buy one of those air filters? Is that worth it? Do they work? What do you suggest?
They work. A HEPA filter is what we suggest because they get that fine particles. It does, if you can, there's also affordability and access. I know that some cities have set up places that people can come in and get out of the heat. And also, the other topic that comes up is if you say, well, stay in your home, maybe you live in a multi-unit apartment building that has smoking allowed in it. Now you're double whammied. So it's another reason we should pass smoke-free policies in multi-unit housing.
Yeah, certainly. We talked to someone earlier who said, hey, when the smoke does go away, make sure you clear out your house because those smoke particles will get into your home, and you want to make sure you clean them out. What's your advice to people as we exit out of the air quality alerts, in the next few days?
I think keep track, of how fast it's reducing, what it looks like. We can see it's changing all the time. There are good websites to track that. I think if they want more information about how they can protect lungs or what more can I do, the lung.org, we have a really good website that offers recommendations on how to address this in this kind of like air quality almost emergency that we're in. And then let's appreciate it and talk about how we can do more for prevention in the future.
What are some telltale signs that, it's not just smoke heaviness on your lungs, but you may be dealing with an undiagnosed lung issue when this smoke hits? How can you tell the difference?
I think it's that tightness in the chest. I know that tightness in the chest, that feeling kind of a pressure that I'm having a harder time, breathing is more work. You're maybe unusually fatigued because breathing is work. And when you're breathing pollutants and it's affecting your body, it can feel even harder. That job of breathing can feel harder. So I would say anything that you're thinking, this is really unusual, it doesn't hurt to make a call or to call your healthcare provider and see what their recommendations are. Drinking water, we want to stay hydrated. That's also really important because that also deals with feeling dizzy and lightheaded, which can be due to hydration.
All right, Pat McCone from the American Lung Association. I know these air quality alerts like this are very concerning for your organization, so I really appreciate you joining us today.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back after this. Welcome back. Minneapolis is registering some of the worst air quality in the world today, all because of the wildfires that are burning in northern Minnesota and in southern Canada. We have some photos that viewers have sent us, and please continue to send those in. We love to see them. You can email us all day at fox.com. Here's some photos out of Duluth. You can barely see the lift bridge there. There's downtown Duluth, also extremely hazy. They're pretty close to Ely, so they are seeing that haze pretty good. Another shot from Duluth from our friend Waylon, who sent these in. No sight of Lake Superior, but it's there somewhere. You just can't see it through the haze. I know we got some photos from down here as well. Cottage Grove from Doreen. Doreen, thanks for sending that in. Looks much like most people's backyards today with that gray hazy sky. And Games Lake sent to us by Greg. So a lot of gray, hazy skies across the metro today. If you want to send in some photos all day at fox.com, there's another shot from St. Paul at sunset last night. Minneapolis was in the #1 spot earlier today on the IQ Air website. They just dropped to #3.
Yep.
So not great.
Not
still.
great, but I'm looking at some of the cameras and they definitely have cleared up since when we first started. I do want to pull in this live shot though of New York City skyline. That's pretty crazy.
Wow.
I mean,
So there's air quality alerts currently across the Midwest and in the Northeast. Chicago is now rated as #1, the worst air quality in the U.S. Detroit #2, and there you see New York City also experiencing bad quality. They currently sit at the 5th spot for some of the worst air quality in the world. Incredible. You can hardly see the New York City skyline. Not much better here. Erica Mrazek joins me now for a look at your weather. Erica, you've been monitoring this air quality alert. It's pretty bad.
Hey, Courtney, I have, and it is pretty bad for almost the entire state, except for down in southwest Minnesota. It is better in that region, so they are out of the air quality alert, but the rest of the state in that until tonight and into parts of early Friday. Also, it's still hot. There's an extreme heat warning around the metro region into Friday evening, where it feels like temperatures could still be mid to upper 90s, perhaps even almost 100 for some for this afternoon into tomorrow afternoon too for that high feels like temperature. Overall, the smoke moved in from the north and the east yesterday. It came in like a wall, now kind of still around that I-94 corridor. Now it's going to start to try to meander its way north and east throughout the next couple hours, but it'll have better luck doing that tomorrow morning as this boundary that's been sitting in the middle part of the state for the past day or so starts to lift north as a warm front. Then I'm tracking another front, though, that's going to kind of wrap around a little bit more of a hazy sky for some for late Friday and to parts of Saturday. Now, this is just going to be a little bit of haze, not as bad as we were today. So today's the worst, and it gradually gets better into your Friday and also into your weekend. So air quality around the metro region still in for some the hazardous category, now looking more like the very unhealthy to unhealthy. And this will continue to get better tomorrow, perhaps just for sensitive groups feeling those impacts. And then by Saturday, expect it to be even better than that. So poor air quality currently with these hot temperatures. Right now, 93 currently for the metro, some 70s north where there's been more of hazy skies limiting that solar energy. So the temperatures didn't make it out of the 70s up north, and then even 50s for Grand Marais, but everywhere south getting temperatures in the 90s and 80s. Feeling a touch warmer because the dew points are a little up there, so it feels like 96 currently for the metro for one of the warmest spots, even 99 in La Crosse, but still feeling like the 70s to 80s for places like International Falls, Ely, and also the Hibbing, Duluth area too. Now, most of the area is pretty dry. There are just a few pockets of some showers, though. One of those over by Eau Claire, some lightning with that, too, as this little cluster of cells tracks eastward across southeastern Minnesota, western Wisconsin. And then also a few light showers up in northern Minnesota and the international border. Now, there is a chance for a few more showers, very isolated throughout and rumbles throughout the rest of the evening, parts of the overnight up north, and then a chance for Just a few isolated showers also for parts of tomorrow, mostly for the north and eastern part of the state, with the low likelihood that some of them could pack a punch. So just something to keep in mind as you go through today and tomorrow. Outside right now, this looks better than it did about 2 hours ago. So being able to see a little bit further currently here in Minneapolis, but still that air quality alert for hazardous air, unhealthy air throughout the region. And that will improve by tomorrow, but still going to be hot tomorrow with high temperatures that are going to reach the 90s again, could be even a touch warmer than today. And then after that, expect still warm conditions for the weekend. A little bit of a haze potentially still in place, but really improving from what is happening today for your Saturday, Sunday. Still hot those days, but then for next week, temperatures could return closer to average, Courtney, with highs getting to the mid to low 80s by about next Tuesday and next Wednesday.
All right, all good news. Thanks so much, Erica.
Thanks.
All right, and we continue to monitor the wildfires that are burning in northern Minnesota. So as we told you yesterday, there was a go status given to individuals